welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. This early Monday afternoon video is going to be post-match reaction, post-match review of Celtic's thumping, convincing 4-0 win over Kilmarnock on Sunday afternoon, with Hearts drawing their game against Dundee United. That cuts the lead to 7 points behind with a game in hand. And we still have 3 games against Hearts left to go in the league season. And Celtic looking, despite the fact that their injury list is getting longer and longer, Celtic looked very confident, very well drilled, and very well set up and motivated team, and never looked like in any real danger against Kilmarnock yesterday afternoon. So in today's video, we're going to have a wee look at the goals and the key incidents, the match stats, ratings for O'Neill and the players, and one or two other wee reflections and bits of news as we go through. So Celtic got back to winning ways, bounced back big after their disappointing game on Thursday evening in Denmark. 4-0 win, and as I said, never really looking in terribly much trouble, apart from one good save from Schmeichel and Kilmarnock also hitting the bar. But otherwise, our defenders did a brilliant job, and Schmeichel did a good job marshalling his defence as well. One or two wee surprises from Martin O'Neill's selection, particularly Jemai Simpson-Puzzi starting at right back rather than Ralston or Colby Donovan. Interesting move, must be good for Simpson-Puzzi's confidence, and after a slightly nervy start, I think he did pretty well for playing his first game for Celtic in a competitive match. Otherwise, one or two wee possible surprises with McCowan coming into midfield, Maeda starting out wide on the right, but overall some very good selections by Martin O'Neill in his starting lineup, with Schmeichel in goals, back four as Simpson-Puzzi, Austin Trusty, Liam Scales and Marcello Sirachi coming back in for Kieran Tierney at left back, Hatate coming in for Engels, McCowan coming in for Negrin, and McGregor carrying on as captain and main midfield pivot. Out wide on the right, Dyson Maeda, through the middle, Johnny Kenny, and out wide on the left, Sebastian Czuniecki. And indeed, Celtic started off well, a couple of half chances, kept Kilmarnock under lots of pressure, and indeed took the lead in the 10th minute. Some nice work by Sebastian Czuniecki down the left, cut inside, nice pass in behind for Rio Hatate, took a slight deflection. Hatate was first to the deflection out on the byline, nice clip back, and Johnny Kenny reacting far quicker than any of the Kilmarnock defenders, swept the ball in from about 6 yards, putting Celtic 1-0 up after just 10 minutes. Celtic, lots of pressure in the first half, some shots at goal, some block shots, some saves for the Kilmarnock goalkeeper. And as I was saying, Kasper Schmeichel towards the end of the half was called into action with one shot smashing off the top of the bar, and Schmeichel doing well to deflect and save a deflected shot that was net bound by tipping it over the bar. And Celtic went into half time at just 1-0 up. No changes made at half time this time by Martin O'Neill, and Celtic came out much the same as they had been for most of the first half, well on top, keeping Kilmarnock pushed further and further back. Some nice work by Jemai Simpson-Puzzi out on Celtic's right. Ball was quickly moved from right across to Kieran Tierney, who hit then a brilliant left-footed shot into the far corner, giving the goalkeeper no chance, and Celtic were 2-0 up after 51 minutes. Tierney had already come on earlier in the game for Marcello Sirachi, who has suffered yet another hamstring injury. An incredible number of hamstring injuries in Celtic's squad just in the last few weeks. And hopefully the physios and medical staff and training staff are all looking into seeing why so many Celtic players are going down with exactly the same injury. One or two wee changes to Celtic's lineup. On in the 64th minute came Negrin and Ralston. Off went Simpson, Pusey and McCowan. And in the 78th minute, further changes with Yang coming on for Chinecki and Engels coming on for Kenny, with a wee bit of a reorganisation. And it was two of Celtic's subs that helped set up the third goal. Nice pass from Ralston in defence, found Arnie Engels in the right side of midfield, and then a beautiful, well-placed curling pass by Engels right into a great run by Dyson Maida, who outpaced the defender and then hit a very powerful shot from the right side of the box through the goalkeeper, and then Celtic 3-0 up after the 85th minute. And indeed, one of Celtic's other substitutes, Ha Yung Yang, good chinking run on the left-hand side, cut into the box, was pulled down by one of the Kilmarnock defenders, and up stepped one of Celtic's other substitutes, Arnie Engels, 3 minutes into added time, and he very efficiently, smartly smashed the ball across the goalkeeper into the far corner, converting the penalty, giving Celtic a 4-0 lead. Celtic had lots and lots of the ball, lots and lots of possession, lots and lots of shots at goal, and in all the stats, Celtic were much the better team, and a considerable improvement from the stats from the Michelin game last Thursday. Happily for a change, not really a game that was full of much controversy or disputes or VAR conversation points and controversial points, and all in all a very, very efficient performance by Martin O'Neill and his team. Looking at the stats, Celtic possession was 75-25. Shots are pretty incredible, 21 for Celtic, just 3 for Kilmarnock. 7 on targets to 1 by Kilmarnock. 8 off targets to 2 off targets by Kilmarnock, and Celtic had 6 shots blocked. Kasper Schmeichel just had 1 save to make. The Kilmarnock goalkeeper Beach had 4 saves to make. Touching the box again, Celtic 4 times as much as Kilmarnock. Really, really impressive at 40-11, although corners were much more even at 8-7. I think one of the major contrasts between this game and the game against Michelin on Thursday, Celtic had 702 passes against Kilmarnock, just 294 against Michelin. Accuracy yesterday 90% compared to 69.4 on Thursday. Good proportions of backward passes, forward passes and lateral passes, but I think one of the really massive factors, Celtic had 192 successful passes in the final third compared to just 29 against Michelin on Thursday. Crosses 25 yesterday to just 7 against Michelin, and so it does show Celtic had massive amounts of possession this time, lots of shots on goal, good number of shots actually on target, putting 4 of their on target shots into the net, and most importantly, tons and tons of balls into the box, tons and tons of passes in the danger zone, lots of times crossing the ball into the box, and a thoroughly great attacking performance. In terms of rating for Martin O'Neill, the manager, I've given him an 8 out of 10. 1 or 2 wee surprise selections, 1 or 2 wee surprise tactical decisions, all of which went really, really well. His substitutions all worked really, really well. Kieran Tierney came on for the injured Sirachi and played very, very well, possibly one of his best games for Celtic since he came back. All the subs, particularly Engels and Yang, contributed well in terms of the goals after they came on. Also rested a few of the players who are going to be away on international duty. Also gave Arnie Engels 15 minutes or so just to test out that wee discomfort he had before in his hamstring, and Lots and lots of good substitutions, good little tactical tweaks, and lots of chances for players who've been fringe players. And I think it is quite significant that two or three players who were completely frozen out by Brendan Rodgers all season have been the keys to Celtic's 3 wins out of 3 in the 3 Scottish matches since O'Neill came back just under 2 weeks ago. Moving on to the player ratings, I've given Kasper Schmeichel 7 out of 10. He made one key save just before half time when the score was only 1-0 to Celtic, tipping the ball over the bar. Good commanding performance from corners and balls into the box. Marshalled the defence very, very well, got the ball out quickly from hand and from by kicks, etc. And good dominant performance, also more vocal than he has been under Brendan Rodgers, and maybe O'Neill has given him free rein to be more vocal and more organising of his defence since O'Neill came back. Jemai Simpson-Puzzi on his Celtic debut, 6.5. Some nice touches, a wee bit nervy to start with, but I think he then got settled down, defended basically well, passed basically well, and got himself into the final third and midfield on occasions, so pretty good debut from him. Given Austin Trusty 8 out of 10 and man of the match, he was brilliant in defence, never looked in any trouble. His passing is so much better than any other Celtic defender that's played so far this season. He is an aerial threat in both boxes, organises the defence. He and Scales actually dovetail together well as a partnership, which could well be very useful if they can both keep fit to the end of the season, because I doubt Carter Vickers will be back for Celtic this season, and if he is, it will just be for the last month or so, unless he makes a remarkably good recovery from his surgery. Liam Scales, 7 out of 10. Some better passing. He was slightly involved with the Kieran Tierney goal, but however, he defended better. He got things under control, and I say he and Trusty are starting to form a good partnership. But Gerald Sarachi, I've given a 6.5. He was looking pretty good. One or two incursions into the Kilmarnock final third, into midfield as well. Some nice passes. Was partly involved in the first goal, unfortunately, in the 22nd minute. He has pulled his hamstring, and I would guess he's going to be out for 4, 6, 8 weeks, which is rather unfortunate because Celtic have got a hell of a lot of games over those 4 to 8 weeks. Callum McGregor, 6.5, a bit disappointed in his performance. It wasn't quite as good as the rest of his teammates. However, basically a good performance. Some nice passing, some nice winning the ball back, some nice organisation, but not quite vintage Callum McGregor. Given 7 for Rio Hatate, involved in the first goal. Lots of nice passes and work in midfield. One of Rio Hatate's best games so far this season. Question is whether he's going to be staying at Celtic past the transfer window, or whether he may be moving on in a wee bit of a squad clear out, and I suspect that might well depend on who Celtic's permanent manager is by that time, or whether Celtic are still waiting to appoint somebody, which would be, for me, a wee bit on the late side. Luke McCowan, 5.5. I think he was Celtic's poorest player on the day. One or two okay passes, couple of shots well over the bar, but not really demonstrating he deserves a regular place in Celtic's team. I think his best performances and best contributions are coming on late as a substitute. Daizen Maeda, I've given 7 out of 10. I think he showed lots of energy, lots of commitment. He ran all over the place. Could have and should have scored a goal in the first half. Practically open goal, but somehow he managed to get his legs and his feet all jumbled up, and the chance was missed. However, some nice runs, some nice passes, some nice crosses, and he did score a brilliant third goal, so 7 out of 10 for him. And it does look like he's starting to get back into the Daizen Maeda form that made him the best player in Scotland last season. Given Johnny Kenny, 7 out of 10. Led the line nicely, good striker instinct to score that first goal for Celtic. A couple of other half chances, but good performance from Johnny Kenny, and he's been called up to the full Ireland squad for their last 2 World Cup qualifiers, which is a good reward for him. And Sebastian Tunecki, 6.5. Again, much like previous games, lots of good runs and passes and dribbles and so on down his left-hand side, partly involved with the reverse pass to set up Hattati to set up Kenny for the first goal. Did seem to tire a wee bit in the second half. He also is away on international duty, this time with Tunisia. Hopefully he comes back from that injury-free. In terms of the substitutes, Kieran Tierney have given 7.5. Thought it was probably one of his best games for Celtic. Came on in the 22nd minute when Sirachi injured his hamstring. Defended well, got forward into midfield in the final third, scored the second goal, and was one of his best performances in my view. Arnie Engels I've given 7 for, came on late in the game, looked fully fit, looked much more happier and committed to the team than he has been all season. Set up the Dyson Maeda third goal with a brilliant curling pass right into Maeda's run, and very confidently struck away the penalty to give Celtic the 4-0 win. And Benjamin Negan and Anthony Ralston both did a decent job, giving them both 6 out of 10. Neither had a tremendous amount to do. Neither did do anything particularly creative or brilliant, but good, decent performances. So 6 out of 10, and they're given Hai Yoon Yang 6.5, upgrading him from a 6, simply because he did have a great run, drinking in and out, back and forward into the box to get Celtic the penalty 3 minutes into added time, and so I've upgraded him from a 6 to 6.5. So in his various press interviews and press conferences after the match, Martin O'Neill full of praise for the players, saying at this point he's having a few days off, and so are the players who are not away on international duty, and he's expecting word from the board and the executive by next Sunday as to whether he's carrying on as the interim manager or whether Celtic have appointed someone during this international break of 13 days. Other key factors from O'Neill's interviews and press conference was that both Callum Osmond and Alistair Johnston will be going for hamstring surgery tomorrow, Tuesday, and I would guess that's going to probably keep them out of first team action for a couple of months or so, possibly longer. Depends on the nature of the operation and how extensive the surgery is, but certainly can't see them coming back into Celtic's team until maybe after Christmas and New Year, or maybe even into January, February, or March. Hopefully they come back sooner rather than later. Also saying that Marcello Sirachi has injured his hamstring, and I'm sure he'll be getting a scan over the next day or two, and the decision as to whether it's simply going to be physio and rehab or whether he needs something more invasive like an operation. Other bit of news relating to Celtic's search for a new manager. Kjetil Knutsen of Bodo Glimt, who is nearing the end of the Norwegian league season, didn't really say that he was considering the Celtic job or not considering the Celtic job, but certainly implied that he was going to be moving on from Bodo Glimt in the next few weeks, and that whichever job he went to would have to be a more exciting, more challenging job than Bodo Glimt. So not really saying yes to Celtic or no to Celtic. That might all be part of the negotiations and the secrecy, etc., as is usually expected in negotiations regarding transfers and players and contracts and new managers, etc. Interestingly, another person who has been closely linked to Celtic as the new manager, Wilfred Nancy, French coach currently working in America for Columbus Crew. His team were knocked out of the MLS playoffs, and so he is now technically available to Celtic if they choose to pursue him. And quite a lot of ex-Celtic players, pundits, experts, people who follow American Major League Soccer closely, I think that he is a very good manager, lots of good ideas, an attacking manager plays 3-4-3 quite often, which changes into 5-4-1 when not in possession. Believes in possession football, believes in attacking football, believes in getting the ball forward and supplying chances to the strikers, involving the wide players and midfielders too. And I think his general managerial formations, tactics, and thoughts are all very much aligned to what makes Celtic a great club. And I think it would be a breath of fresh air compared to Brendan Rodgers' rather negative, stale, slow, sluggish football, and getting back more to the attacking style of Ange Postecoglou and other great spells in Celtic's history, such as under Martin O'Neill or Billy McNeill, or before that, Jock Stein. No other major Celtic news as far as I can see so far on Monday, and so we'll finish the video off there. We'll be doing videos every couple of days or so throughout this international break. Got one or two thoughts, as well as keeping everybody up to date with any news, how the players are doing in the international break, etc. But I do also have one or two ideas about other sorts of videos to do in this 13-day spell between our two fixtures, between Kilmarnock yesterday and St Mirren a week on Saturday. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail hail.